Now for the moment you have all been waiting for. Let's dive into our featured story of the day and discuss a Bitcoin ETF being approved this month in November. And what would that mean for the crypto market? Let's break this baby down. We have Stephen McClurg, the Chief Investment Officer at Valkyrie Investments, has put forth a strong indication that a landmark approval from the US SEC for a spot Bitcoin ETF can transpire by the month's end. Send it and let's go. The approval of the spot ETF is currently one of the biggest factors influencing the Bitcoin price as well as the entire crypto market's trajectory. You can say that again. Now, alongside the financial giants such as BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, Fidelity, which is about half the size of BlackRock, we got VanEck, we got Invesco, we got Valkyrie, one of the companies at the forefront of the battle with the SEC over the spot ETF. We also have Grayscale. Don't forget the GBTC product. We have the firm managing two Bitcoin related ETFs at the moment. Now, Valkyrie Bitcoin and Ether Strategy ETF and the Valkyrie Bitcoin Miners ETF with a combined asset value of $51.1 million at this time, and they also have active filings for spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, McClurg, citing the latest amendments to Valkyrie's spot Bitcoin ETF app, anticipates the SEC will issue another series of comments within the next weeks, potentially setting the stage for the approval of the 19b4 rule changes by the end of the month. Send it, quoting him here. Before anything else happens, we get a second round of comments, and I believe we'll probably get those comments in the next 1 to 3 weeks. A late November approval likely means a February launch. So note that if we get the green light in November, it means the Bitcoin ETF would likely launch a few months later in February, which would be right in time again for the Bitcoin halving. Now, he also shared with ETF.com this interview suggesting a timeline for the SEC's response to these crucial amendments. He also argues the SEC can wait until January to ask the applicants to put the final touches on their S1 filings. So that's the other alternative scenario. Now, Nate Gerasi, host of the ETF Prime Pod, explained that Valkyrie CIO suggests SEC can approve the 19b4's exchange rule changes for the spot Bitcoin ETFs by the end of November, and then the S1 registration statements early next year. These don't have to be approved at the same time, so keep that in mind, though they need both for the ETFs to begin trading. Now, in recent weeks, the SEC has been actively communicating with ETF apps and disclosed that the agency is carefully scrutinizing all spot Bitcoin ETF apps. The focal points of the SEC's inquiry have pertained to the comprehensive explanation of various risk disclosures, methodologies concerning index usage and net asset value computations, environmental risk inclusions, as well as detailed insights into custodial practices. Recent amendments to filings by entities such as BlackRock and VanEck have been augmented to elucidate how initial fund seeding could be conducted, and also note that BlackRock already began seeding their ETF back in October, which was last month. This is something that Larry Fink, their CEO, has already disclosed. Now, because of that, industry experts remain cautiously optimistic. We have Matt Hogan, the CIO of Bitwise Asset Management, highlighting lingering concerns. Quoting him here, market manipulation is still a potential stumbling block. Custody isn't a wrap. So there is still a lot of work to do, he stated. Now, the anticipation isn't purely speculative. The man forecast suggests substantial interest. McClurg envisions about $10 billion flowing into these products within the first 1 to 2 months post-launch, while Bitwise's project projects $50 billion in inflows within the first 5 years. I think that's extremely conservative. I could see trillions of inflows within 5 years, but hey, to each their own. Valkyrie revised its spot Bitcoin ETF filing October 30th, a few days ago, with an S1 registration statement submitted to the SEC outlining the Valkyrie ETF. The proposed fund shares are intended to be listed under the ticker BRRR on the NASDAQ stock exchange. Valkyrie updated their app in part of a wider trend, as several firms have similarly refiled their spot ETF apps, signaling a concerted effort toward regulatory compliance and optimism for approval. Bloomberg ETF analyst James Safeheart identified these amendments as positive signals for progress and possible imminent approvals. Let me know which you think will get the green light first from the SEC. We all know it's imminent. We all know it's going to happen. But when? Is it going to be November? Is it going to be December? Could it be January? Could it be March? Let me know in the live poll we have on the screen. Take advantage of that. I want to know. Right now, we only have 236 votes. Blow that mofo up and let's go. I'm going to read some of your comments and then I have some more content to share. Hey, I have something to say. What it do? I wish the poll had a choice of never. You really think they're never going to approve it? For real, for real? I have 0.7 BTC, says Spidey. Well, congratulations, fam. That's what's up. Keep stacking them stats. You're almost a whole coiner. Spidey, got to do what it got to do. How much Bitcoin do you guys own? Now, keep in mind, guys, it's probably in your best interest to never reveal what you hold, right? Now, Ray Grafton, big up. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning into the live. I have some bonus content to share with you before we dive into the live Q&A. This is from Jurian Timmer. Why is this so relevant? He is the head of macro at Fidelity. Fidelity being a $4.5 trillion asset manager. He's the one who predicted a $1 billion Bitcoin price by the year 2038. And here's something he just recently shared. He shares some incredible threads I want to share with you. Bitcoin is volatile, but its scarcity and adoption curve create the potential for it to be a high-powered hedge against monetary shenanigans. I think of it as exponential gold. And in this chart, it shows you Bitcoin going past $1.2 million per coin. That's pretty sexy, gets me excited. As he shares here, one of the attributes of Bitcoin is that it's a network asset. And as such, its adoption curve has followed the typical S-curve shape. We have seen many of the S-curves throughout history. And he continues here in the thread, the question, where is Bitcoin's journey along that S-curve? A network asset's value is driven by its adoption curve, so the slope of that curve matters a lot. Makes a good point. And when I first went down this rabbit hole in late 2020, its adoption curve, which I define as the number of non-zero addresses, was very steep. It resembled the S-curve for mobile phones during the 1980s and the 1990s, which was pretty promising. I'm going to read you a few more. Now, however, as the real rate narrative changed from dovish in 2020 to hawkish in 2022. The adoption curve flattened, and it is now closer to the slope of the internet adoption curve from the 2000s, and it has not made much progress since 2021. Now, we also had some other threads which are very valuable. I'm just going to read the lead part of it. With Bitcoin moving up once again, will its adoption curve accelerate as it did a few years ago? And how does the macro trend on rates affect it? There's some very insightful data. If you want this, check the show notes below the video in the description. I'll include all of this. And he had one more good thread continuing the discussion from the recent thread on Bitcoin. I highly recommend you check this out because, again, this is the head of macro over at Fidelity, one of the world's largest asset managers. So there you have it, my crypto fam.